Hello, how are you guys today?
Doing well. Thanks, Philip. Thanks for having us on.
And I am talking with Mr. Thomas Allen Harris, Perry, and we're here to discuss Through a Lens Darkly, blah, 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 blah. I know there's a long title.
Black photographers and the emergence of the people.
Okay. So first, I'd like to have you introduce yourselves and what role you played in this film or this project.
Okay, this is Thomas Allen Harris, and I am the director, writer, and producer of the film. My fourth feature-length documentary, yes, and that's I originated the project along with Deborah Willis, who is another of the producers on the film, who approached me 10 years ago about doing a filmic interpretation of her book, Reflections in Black, Black Photographers from 1840 to the Present, and spent the last 10, 11 years bringing this film to fruition.
This is Don Perry, and I'm the writer and producer on the film. I spent a lot of time helping to write the grants that got the funding. I spent time on the research. I spent time working the music. I spent time helping to bring to life the ideal and vision that Thomas had for the film.
Great. That is great to hear. So we'll just go right into the interview questions, and here we are. First, I'd like for both gentlemen for you to tell me something about yourself in terms of your educational background and your journey thus far in the filmmaking process.
I've been making films for the last 23, 24 years, I went to Harvard College and was did biology there. And then worked in television, started producing television in the 80s, and was nominated for several Emmy Awards, and then went from there to art. I got a fellowship to go to the Whitney Independent Study Program and work in critical theory, and I produced the first LGBT town hall meeting in 1989 that showed Marlon Riggs' film, Tongues Untied. And then between San Francisco and New York. And then I taught film and video at the University of California, San Diego for about 8 years. And made a number of short films. They played all over the world, done installations, video installations, and published photography and published writer. Mostly around poetry and experimental writing. Won a bunch of awards for the films have won awards, and then I had a couple of fellowships from the Guggenheim Fellowship and the Rockefeller Fellowship for the work.
And you, Mr. Perry?
So I began my career at Williams College, got a BA in Economics and International Relations, and then I went to New York, worked on Wall Street, was in the finance and trading and banking and commercial finance arena for a number of years, ultimately got my MBA in strategic management at the Drucker Center at the Claremont Graduate University. I became a consultant, a turnaround consultant to troubled businesses. After firing thousands of people and building up a whole bunch of bad karma, I thought it was time to shift gears and try to do something that had some real meaning in the world. And so I've been working initially just on the side, and then with Thomas on some of his previous projects, Ania Cara, That's My Face, 12 Disciples of Nelson Mandela, some short projects like Marriage Equality, and some corporate features, and then this, Through a Lens Darkly, Black Photographers, Emergence of the People, where we spent a lot of time working on the writing. I've also done some speculative fiction and Afrofuturism. I've written and published 2 novellas, and there's a 3rd one in the works.
Okay. So this next question is for Thomas. Thomas, while just looking through your biography, I see that you were born and raised in Bronx, New York, as well as in Tanzania, Africa. How did that happen?
My mom, with my brother, moved to East Africa to join part of the Pan-Africanist movement and to also teach in Tanzania, in Dar es Salaam, the capital of Tanzania. And so we went along with my mom, and I went to a national schools while I was there with the Tanzanian kids. And yeah, it was life-changing for me.
That's great. That is outstanding. It is always wonderful to hear that people have traveled abroad and have experienced living somewhere else outside of the United States. It is great to hear that, and I would encourage anyone to travel to other countries and experience culture outside of our own. Next question is for...
second that.
Go ahead.
I would second that.
Okay. So the next question is for Don, and I didn't have this question scripted. It was just something that you mentioned earlier that I wanted to touch on a little bit more, and that is Afrofuturism. Explain to us what exactly that is and talk about your telenovelas.
So Afrofuturism is a literary movement of African diasporic writers who are imagining what the future would look like with us in it. And it's a response to a certain extent to our lack of representation in popular science fiction and fantasy and the paranormal. So we're writers. We have these ideas and we have these urges to write a future world or create worlds where we are the center of the action, where we're represented fully, not as accidents or side characters or freak show kinds of things. And so I've always had an interest. I've been a lifelong devotee of science fiction, and when I started to write, mostly short pieces, but I began to decide that, well, I want to write something longer, something where I create a world and have recurring characters. It just naturally flowed that I would go back to my inspiration in science fiction, science futurism, and I thought I was the only one. But as it turns out, there's an entire world of black sci-fi writers, and there's an online society, the Black Science Fiction Society, that people can go to, and it's got over 4,000 people. Most of them are writers. There's everything from graphic novels to full-on novels, as well as novellas, which are slightly shorter format.
So then we should watch out somewhere down the road to see your works somewhere in television and possibly film.
Well, if Thomas has his way, yes.
That's great. It's always good to shoot for the stars, literally and figuratively.
Right.
Now, this next question is for Thomas, and I understand that Thomas is the president and founder of his own production company, Chimpanzee Productions, and it says verbatim that Chimpanzee Productions is a company dedicated to producing unique audiovisual experiences that illuminate the human condition. Exactly what does that mean?
Well, I think that it's it's exactly what it says. Who are we, where are we, what are we, and thinking about the multiple dimensions of our existence, and and stepping outside. I think so often people of color or minorities and LGBT folks are the marginal to the story, and I'm interested in telling larger stories that connect diasporas together across difference, and one of the things that connects us is our common humanity and our spiritual and the potential for spirituality. However, we may decide to construct that or articulate that.
Outstanding. That is outstanding. And this next question is for both gentlemen. If your filmmaking style were a gourmet dessert, what would it be? What kind of dessert?
This is Don Perry, and I would have to say a Napoleon, because a well-made Napoleon confection consists of extremely complicated layers, and they alternate between the soft, the crunchy, the hard. There are different flavors, there are different textures within it. It's a beautiful confection when it's all put together and delivered on the plate, and it's not that it's messy, but there's so much to it that you have a lot of things to go through in order to get to the good parts inside.
Young man, I am hungry, and how dare you mention that?
Sorry. We just don't make it easy.
Okay, and Thomas?
Yeah, I'll just let Don handle that one.
You just don't know what to say after that. He just threw some of all of this wonderful stuff there and just said, pass the plate to you, right? And fork.
You got it.
Okay, so then the next question I'll throw out to Thomas then, and that is, this film is played in a number of festivals across the country. How has audiences reacted to it?
It's been amazing, the reaction of audiences. The film not only played at festivals, it's opened theatrically. It had a 2-week run in New York, which was extended by another 3 weeks. So it was almost a 5-week run in New York City due to popular demand. It's open in Chicago theatrically. It had a New Orleans run, which was extended as well. It's going to be opening in D.C. On December 12th. We are in the middle of a theatrical release in Los Angeles, which is one of the reasons why we're here. People come back 2-3 times in New York because it was there for 5 weeks. People came back 4 times to see the film. And I think it's, they want to come back and it addresses a kind of a thirst, that it quenches a thirst that people have to see images of ourselves that are multidimensional and that talk about our history and give us a sense of grounding in where we are, but also take us outside of the ordinary, even though some of the images are quite, of ordinary situations, like graduations or baptisms or just family images, while other images are images of, lynching and the stereotype and blackface, and just it validates our experience. And I think that's what people say. And like Michaela Angela Davis said, it felt like a little piece of her was put together. She felt more put together after seeing the film.
I'm doing a crossword puzzle, and I need a 5-letter word that begins with O and ends with R to describe this film. O-S blank blank R nomination, possibly somewhere in the future.
I would agree with that. And we are here in LA to fulfill our final segment for the Oscar qualification.
Great. That is outstanding. I will celebrate with you, and I'll send you all kind of Facebook reminders. Make sure you thank me.
Okay.
As if
No
I have
problem.
any credit to contribute to any of this. So this next question is for Don, and I would like for you to just talk about some of the obstacles you faced during the filmmaking process. And then I will let Thomas just talk about some of the things you've done to overcome those challenges.
Well, the number one challenge was finding the story. That took the longest time and was the most complicated, particularly in such a complex, multi-layered, and multi-balanced proposition as this. The second major challenge was once finding the story, trying to get it all in the allowed time. We only had 90 minutes. So making those decisions as to what stayed, what didn't, what you lingered on, what you quickly went through. A third challenge is certainly funding. An effort like this over such an extended period of time requires a great number of people, resources, and money. And so that certainly was a major challenge. And then lastly, the last challenge was fending off challenges to the artistic vision at the core of the film. This film could have been done in so many different ways, and a number of people had suggested that it was finished years ago, but that film is not this film, and this film required considerable truth and required considerable sacrifice to be true to its own voice. And I'll just leave it at that.
Okay, and Thomas, can you tell us how did you overcome some of those challenges?
Well, I've been blessed, number one, in terms of the financing, to have had foundations that support my work as an artist, as a filmmaker, and who have supported over many years, such as the Ford Foundation, also the Independent Television Service. And so they made it possible. And then also we did a crowdfunding campaign. Over 300 people donated funds. Was it 300? Over 300 people donated funds, including some high net worth individuals and stuff. That really made it possible. In terms of, I think in terms of finding the story, it was, I'm in the story as a character, and so allowing myself to jump into that with 2 feet, which was very, I think the Sundance Documentary Fund and also the Ford Foundation, Orlando Bagwell, were very encouraging of me stepping into the middle of the film, and using my particular story as a quest and my family's photographic album to talk about some larger issues. And so that helped, tremendously, and it shored up the film in a significant way. And then also it allowed me, working with Don and our assistant editor and our editors and research team, to also use the images as text and pare down some of the more expository kind of language and explaining, and really make it more experiential and much more poetic. I'm a published poet, and so it was really to use to really come to this documentary in a way that's poetic, not unlike, let's say, like Marlon Riggs's Tongues Untied. Marlon was a mentor of mine, in addition to St. Clair Bourne, and also, Isaac Julian's Looking for Langston, really using poetry to talk about things which normally we don't talk about, and the combination of the images and text and sound.
So the next question is for both gentlemen, and that question is, what would you like for audiences to take away from this film?
I think it's important to understand the power of the image and how that power can be wielded. The visual literacy, who is behind the image, taking the image, what the purpose of the image was, what it says, how it connects to a world of other images, because images strike our hearts, and our eyes and our hearts immediately and communicate so much. Image is worth 1,000 words is colloquialism, and so it's really, but it has such truth because you could really use an image to convey so much that the power of the image is so strong.
I would hope that people will come away from the film with one realization, and that is that we truly are one people, that this notion of race is a construction, and it's a construction that no longer functions for us, and it's time for us to really grow out of it and to really value the fact that we are all flowers in the master gardener's garden, and that makes all of us part of the divine. And I think in accepting that, accepting our commonality, our common humanity, our common divinity as human beings, will serve to help us all evolve and move to a much better place for our culture and our society.
Outstanding. That is outstanding from both gentlemen. Now, Through a Lens, Darkly will be shown in St. Louis this weekend, and I didn't see any literature or anything that mentioned that Mr. Thomas Allen Harris or Don Perry would be in attendance to actually take questions from the audience, the normal Q&A after films. Are either one of you gentlemen going to be in St. Louis this weekend?
Yes, we both will be there. So we're doing Q&As, and also we're doing a Digital Diaspora Family Reunion Roadshow, which is a project I started in 2009 to support the film, and also to help people, encourage people to view their family photographic albums in new ways. And in fact, through the roadshow, which we've done the roadshow in 23 cities across the country, we've done it in Brazil and in Canada, and we collected a lot of images that ultimately made their way into the film. But also, we've interviewed over 800 people, about their family photographic archives, and that might be one of the projects, or one of our next feature projects that we complete.
So how can I find out what cities you have visited, and if my city is not on the list, what do I need to do to try to convince you to come on over to Chicago?
Yeah, well, we have done Chicago. We did Chicago in partnership with the DuSable Museum, and we did that. That was actually in September. And in fact, on our YouTube channel, you can see some of the material that we that we shot there. You can also go on our website, www.oneworldoneFamily.me, and that's numeral one world, numeral one family.me, and you could see in our digital diaspora videos, some of the videos and some of the photographic documentation of the event, and also on the homepage there's a listing of the cities that the film is screened in and will be screening in internationally and nationally, as well as the Digital Diaspora Roadshow.
That is great, and I will make sure. Could you just repeat those two websites once again, the YouTube channel as well as the website?
The YouTube channel is DDFR TV, and our website is oneworldoneFamily.me, with the not spelled out, but with the numeral one, worldoneFamily.me.
So if I visit and let's say that my city, Anytown, USA, is not there, and I was interested in partnering with you to come out to my city or for us to do a cattle call, if you will, to have people come out and bring out some of their family photos for possible inclusion, what should I do?
You can email us, and we'll respond right away.
And if it's just a matter of doing a screening and people would like to see the film and it's not yet in their city, they can go to TUGG, T as in Tom, UGG.com, and look for the Through a Lens Darkly page, and they'll get all the assistance from TUGG on setting up a screening there.
And so after St. Louis, where else will Darkly be showed? Through a Lens Darkly be showed or screened?
It's going to be going to Baltimore twice. We're going to be in Baltimore this weekend at I think it's the Creative Arts Center. Then it'll go to D.C. It'll go back to Baltimore for the first Black Film Festival. And then after D.C., I don't know.
It's going to Boston and then D.C. and then Philadelphia, Cleveland, San Francisco. Everything's on our website, the oneworldoneFamily.me. We're going to be updating that. So it's actually too numerous to keep in our head.
Okay. And you know, I keep mentioning St. Louis because perhaps I could hopefully say the right things to Mr. Perry to get him to make that dessert for me that he just tempted me and everyone else with. And Mr. Harris, you can feel free to make bananas Foster. You know, that's one of my favorites.
Very good.
Okay, so my final question then is for both gentlemen, and that is, what's next for you professionally?
Well, we have a number of projects to follow up here. Some of them in the documentary vein. From Property to Person is one that's the most developed, and that looks at the creation of blackness or the depiction of blackness in popular culture, the movies, magazines, newspapers, etc. We're also looking at taking some of those Afrofuturistic novellas that I've been writing and adapting them to both episodic web and television, as well as feature films.
So I want my folks out at Sci-Fi and at Power of Video on PBS and anywhere and everywhere to give these gentlemen a call and just get some of their works out in the marketplace in your venues and to a wider audience.
Thanks so much, Phil. You could see some of our films on 12 Disciples of Nelson Mandela and That's My Face are on Amazon, and 12 Disciples of Nelson Mandela is also on iTunes. Through a Lens Darkly is coming out on iTunes at the end of January. Beginning of February, the film is also going to be broadcast on Independent Lens, a TV series, February 16th. But it's going to continue to show different places around the country, traveling and doing talks with the film, as well as the Digital Diaspora Roadshow. And we're also showing the other films as well, including Vintage Families of Value, which in 2000 15 is going to be celebrating its 20-year anniversary, and we're working to push that film out. It's never had a home video release. It's only been released educationally and on broadcasted. So look for that. Join our mailing list when you visit our site, oneworldoneFamily.me. Please join the mailing list, and we're going to also be pushing out a lot of content modularly.
Say it 3 times.
And so you'll see elements of the film, the various films, as well as upcoming films as well.
I want to thank you, both gentlemen, for agreeing to speak with me this evening. It has been a pleasure. And I want to leave you with that thought, that crossword puzzle. Once again, a 5-letter word, begins with O and an S, and contains an R in the documentary category.
I think it sounds like an Oscar. Yeah.
Yes. So we'll leave it there, and I thank you both gentlemen for your time.
Thank you as well, and I look forward to staying in touch.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Take care.
Bye-bye.